A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the evening review. My name is Taiwan, your host. Tonight on the platform, we are hosting, or welcoming back rather, Statistician-General and CEO of the Namibia Statistics Agency, Alex Shimuafeni. He's here to help us unpack this debate that has been raging since the 29th of January, when NSA released the latest employment and unemployment figures, with different versions being put out there as the true reflection of the state of unemployment in the country. Thank you very much, Alex, for always making time. We always call you here and you respond well in time to help put things into context. But let's start with this. So, on the 29th of January, you released the labor force report. You did not, as NSA, you did not reveal that you used a different methodology in the 2023 census survey compared to 2018. And to some of us, if it wasn't for some well-read Namibians, the experts in your field, we wouldn't have known to date that the methodology was different, because once the results were announced, people went out there saying, no, this cannot be correct. What is the true figure of unemployment in Namibia?
Yeah, thank you very much, and good evening, Toivo, and good evening, Namibia. I can start with the figure of the official unemployment rate.
Yeah,
is 36.9%. And then to go back to your question, in terms of the methodology, it's rather more the definition than the methodology.
Okay.
And I spent quite a substantial time to explain the definition that was arrived at. And maybe contrary to some of the comments that were made in social media and so on, that the NSA used a wrong definition or defined or came up with a wrong definition. Just to make it clear that the NSA does not come up with definitions of unemployment rate or unemployment. It comes up. This is normally obtained from the ILO, the International Labour Organization, through the conference that is normally held every 5 years by international statisticians, labor statisticians, and this conference is referred to as International Conference for Labor Statisticians, ICLS, and the one that was used in 2018 was the 13th ICLS, and then the one of 2023 was the 19th ICLS, and this is now based on resolutions that came out from those conferences. Now, in simple terms, is that the 2018 definition was the broad-based one.
Yeah.
Basically, that includes everyone who is not employed, whether you are looking for a job or not. You are included in there. And not only that, they also included the other definitions, like people who were doing employment for own use as well, or production for own use. And in 2023, the definition that was used is the strict definition, which is only people who are looking for jobs, and also people looking for jobs, and people who are not looking for jobs were not part of the equation. And just to go back again, this is what was agreed upon on the national level, so that for comparison purposes, people will be able to also to work it out, or to compare yourself with other countries. Now, with regard to what we call the potential labor force, because labor force is about people who are employed and people who are unemployed. And then you can always have a movement to say those who are unemployed, whenever they move to the employed, you can get closer and closer to 100% employment. Now, the figure of a potential labor force we have also included. Those are people now who decided not to look for jobs anymore, either because of discouraged or they have changed their status. For example, they were looking for jobs and now they became students. And then you also include those people who are on the verge really of becoming into the labor force in terms of looking for jobs. For example, if you look at not grade 12, but a final year student already preparing to start looking for a job for next year. All this information, we have it in the report. We also had it explained in detail at the launch of the report. So all the information is there.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of the day, it's about the interpretation. To my surprise, it became the NSA definition.
Yeah.
So we are not ILO. We're part of ILO. We sit together with other institutions in ILO. And in the world, no single statistics office or a single country define the definition of unemployment. And also this definition evolves because people do research every time. For example, now they need to start doing, they're also busy with the research in terms of what is classified as informal employment, for example. So this is just the background on the definition of unemployment.
Yeah. So in the case of NSA, Alex, the bone of contention seems to be the lack of transparency, that somehow all these things about the definitions were not disclosed until this public scrutiny came out. In other words, for argument's sake, even if you were correct in saying that the definitions used in 2018 are not the same now, that have been some evolution took place along the way. Then how do you compare those? Because you came out with, as NSA, you came out with a 3.5 or 3.6
increase, 3.5.
Yeah, meaning that you juxtaposed the 2018 figure with the 2023 to come up with that difference. But it's problematic. I'm not a statistician guy. I'm not a man of statistics. But if you are using, if you are comparing, if you are contrasting the old definition with the new one to come up with that increase, that sounds problematic to me. Why don't you, unless you had qualified it to say, look, if we had used the same definition that we used in 2018, this would have been the picture. But since we used this new one, this is now the 36.7%. That didn't come out very clear.
Yeah, I'm not so sure in terms of how it didn't come out clear, because that information was shared in terms of this is a definition and this is the unemployment rate. And then we talk about potential labor force.
Yeah.
And then we say, if you combine these two, this is what you get. Really, the statistics, maybe I might just go back, the statistics that we produce is really for using for planning purposes, for policy formulation, and the likes. Now, if you go to the figures also, if you categorize them according to the different ages, personally I have a challenge to look at unemployment of 15 years to 19 years, because these are people who are supposed to be in school. And I've mentioned it also at the launch. And we had to showcase that one also, to say that if you take that one out, what impact will it have on the whole unemployment rate? Now, if you are planning and want to create jobs, is that really the area that you want to create to focus on? Yeah. I would rather say no, because you want to make sure that those people are maybe in school.
Yeah.
And then the definition also say the working force or working age is from 15 years and above. So meaning there's no limit. Now, those of you who are in HR will also tell you that they look at people who are working up to the age of 60 years, which is the retirement age. Now, we also had to show that if you take out those who are above 60, this is what the data is telling you. So our work is just there to give information. Yeah. So if we go out there and say our unemployment rate is the figure that the people seems like want to hear, which is 54.8. So when ILO comes, we also say that what are you trying to do? You don't know. You had people who went to training also. ILO have worked with us also in terms of putting this report together. So what is it a matter of we want to satisfy somebody who was saying unemployment rate is very much higher? So we gave the information. Now, coming to the planners or policy implementers, this is the way you need to go down in the figures. For example, when I gave about the age group of 15 to 19 years, which is supposed to be in school, and government does have a policy of free education as well. This is where a person will say, you will say now that, okay, let's not only look at the definition that is given, the definition of the day, and I'm saying definition of the day because this is what was accepted. And by the way, if people say that we came up with our own definition and I was saying that this is from ILO, I thought as a researcher, the first thing that I'm expecting to see is that you check with ILO and see whether what I'm saying is the truth or not. And then you come back and say, if you don't agree with that definition, it's fine. You have an opinion to say so. But the fact of the matter is that when we have the data, it's really what you do with the data. For example, I'm not comfortable to look at 15 years old, whether they are employed or not, because I would rather encourage those to be in school. And then the rest is now as an issue of what the definition tell us and how the people accept the definition or take the definition.
If, hypothetically, the very method or definition that you used in 2018 was replicated in 2023, what would have been the picture?
If the picture will be different, of course, because you now include all those that are also not looking for work. But then also the other thing that you must look at also is that where it will also be different is that this methodology, or the definition of that was used in the ICLS 19, it does also not include people who are producing for own use, like subsistence farming, which was also included in the past. So you must take that into consideration. When you want to talk about now the definition of that, they must take all those things also into consideration. Then you can put it in as a researcher, and then you can say, how do this compare to that one? But where we are looking at if IMF, World Bank, ILO, whoever asks for the unemployment rate, because they want to compare to all other countries, they will use the definition of the day.
I don't think the problem, Alex, I don't think the problem is the definition or using that definition. I think the problem is comparing figures or drawing our conclusion from of how well we have done as a country from 2018 to 2023 using different definitions. Because if you are, I think it's a basic scientific principle that, for example, maybe it's a silly example, but if you want to see the impact of eating beef on a human body, and then after a period the person uses pork, and you want to now compare the two to get a result, it will not give you a true picture, because you have to stick to beef all along. Now what NSA seems to have done, and again, using the method that you used or the definition that you used in 2023, it's not a problem. The problem seems to be that you are using that now against what you used in 2018 to come up with a sum total, and that seems to be a problem because it cannot give you a true picture.
Well, my response to that one is that when these figures are given, I think you mentioned something about transparency and so on. When this figure is given, the transparency is in the fact that not only did we speak about potential labor force and left it there, we even go to the extent of explaining what is in the potential labor force. For example, one of the things which is also very worrying is that if you have that more than 96% of those people who are discouraged job seekers,
Yeah.
the information is there. So how you implement the data, the information,
Yeah.
the statistics, that is now something else. If you're saying that it's a challenge to compare that, the definition of the previous one, it's fine, I'll take that. But what we are saying is that we gave you both to say that this is what we have. But we also further educated the people in terms of especially the statement that we gave out to say, when these figures are asked on an international level, the official figure for employment that is given is that one of 36.9%. The other question is that, yes, we are asking about this comparison. What are the views now in terms of having to include the 15 years to 19 years who are supposed to be in school?
Yeah.
What are the views of having to include the more than 60 years that are supposed to be on pension? In fact, they are supposed to be, they are out of the labor force.
Yeah.
They have worked their part, they've done their part. So it's not really up to us to change these definitions.
Yeah.
It's to give information. We give it all in a transparent way in terms of all the information that is there. If we are saying that we should not compare because of the definitions, it's fine. We hear that, and you are not forced to compare if you don't want to, but you look at the definition. And really, like I said, is really to apply it. And for example, if you are a researcher, you need to go down. And there's a question that we ask: why are the people discouraged to be searching for jobs? It could be various factors, and that question we didn't ask, unfortunately, because this is a module within the census, and within any census or survey, the more questions we are adding, the more time it's going to take you also to ask this, to administer this questionnaire. So that study can go further. It could be an issue that there are no jobs, so I don't want to look for jobs, or is it a matter that I'm underqualified, I'm overqualified, or what have you. This is where we give the information, and the users of the information can take it further.
Yeah. So another hypothetical question. So, if as a researcher and statistician of note, worth your salt, worth your weight in gold, if somebody, those that are taking the definition of 2018 and replicating that very definition in 2020 for 2023 to come up with a 54.8% that they are putting out there, scientifically, is that wrong? Is their calculation wrong? Because they are saying we are comparing apples to apples.
Yeah, I've seen that that comment of comparing apples and oranges. But what we are saying is that it's a matter of we shouldn't just take things also and try to bring it on the table when it suits us.
Yeah.
For example, I've just mentioned also earlier to say the definition of that was used in 2018, that also includes people who are producing for own use.
Yeah.
So if you now say that you want to compare every bit and piece with that, just do your calculations, and this is why the data is there. And then you can also now calculate and say, let's look at people who are also producing for our own, because they are not included in this time. If it's a matter of people thinking that this figure should have been this much or that much, that analysis is going to be done. And then this is where the planners and policy implementers need to look at, and then they look at those figures. So the question of saying, can you compare that with that? The answer to that is that, unfortunately, things evolve.
Yeah.
For example, when you do work for no pay, it was included in the previous definition.
Yeah.
In this definition, it's not included also. So in the world of working with averages and so on, you can also say those are also cancelling each other out. But those are the details that people can go in and do further analysis.
Yeah. So the National Planning Commission and the NSA have always stated that the broad definition is the most appropriate, especially for a country like ours, where you have a huge informal economy and all that. So you needed, your position all along has been that the broad definition is best suited to our circumstances here. Only for you guys to desert that definition, you went to the strict definition, and we are now told by those in the know that if you use the strict definition, as you did in 2023, a massive 350,000 Namibians could be affected by being left out because they are not considered. If you narrow the thing to the extent that you did, that you are leaving out a potential 350,000 people uncatered for. That's a huge number, and these researches are done in order to inform planning and stuff like that. Real people, breathing people with families, people with aspirations, apparently not included in that definition. How do we deal with that? How do we justify that?
Yeah, we need to go back in terms of how you come about the definition. Like I've said, the research is being done. Yeah. As we are speaking, people do research. Now, if you talk about the strict definition and you talk about the potential labor force, there are various factors that are there. For example, if you and your spouse decide one of you need to stay home to look after the children or what have you, then you are not looking for a job. Then you might qualify yourself as unemployed, but you are not looking for a job. And then in this case, it's by choice. And like I'm saying, the rule of averages also is an issue of, or cancelling each other out, is also an issue that it could be a spouse saying, staying at home and having to pay for extra care. Maybe that can also cancel each other out. So there's a research that came with the definition of the strict definition of unemployment. But what we are saying is that we are not leaving that out, the other possibility out, because we are also, those information, the data we also provided, and for planning purposes or for whatever you want to do, that information is there. So it was going to be a challenge to say, from those 350 people that you're talking about exactly, you just say, these are people who are not applying. We are already telling you that more than 96% of those people, they were discouraged. Is that not good information enough? So at least that is not, that's just not considered. So the information is there. For example, if we're saying now that there's now going to be a number of jobs to be supplied. So we also know where to get the people who will be able to respond to that, which is in there. And then maybe the first people that you go to are people that were discouraged. And then you must make sure now that their skills are also matching for what you want to job to be done for.
So you can assure my viewers that because when things came out the way they came out on the 29th of January, against the backdrop of what was already being alleged last year when the census results were announced and the labor force survey results were kept out, and people started speculating that, oh, the numbers were so bad and we are heading into an election. This is an attempt to influence, to make sure that these numbers are kept out of the public domain until after the election. And when the debate like this comes up and people say, oh, NSA now used a strict definition in order to lower the true rate of unemployment, when actually the true picture, if they had compared apples to apples, the true picture would have been this. You can assure me and my viewers that there's no political motives behind all these things, because the consistencies of how everything is happening and how the numbers are coming up. It's too much to be coincidental.
I think on that one you need to go back really in time.
Yeah.
Because I remember we were supposed to do the census in 2021. And if you look at our labor force surveys, we've done in 2014, 2016, 2018, and we're really looking forward to be doing it 2 years thereafter, also after 2018, which is 2020. But then we know 2020 was also COVID, and then our priority by then also was the census, because what we are saying is that if you cannot do it anytime, we can also include this module in the census. And then 2021, it was actually COVID, because even those who did it in 2022, who had the funds, they only did it in 2022. With us, we couldn't do it in 2022 because of the effect on the economy. On the economy, couldn't allow us to get the funds to do it in 2022. We did it in 2023. And I've said this before also, that if we had done the census in 2021, I don't know whether there's a question about elections or no elections or whatever, because by 2022 or at latest 2023, we have to release the data. Now, coming back on this specific one is that, unfortunately, you plan for things, but unfortunately, when things do not work out the way it does, you cannot push things, or you cannot force things to happen. For example, we had given out a tender for people to do regional profiles for all the 14 regions. And none of the companies that have put in bids were responsive, meaning that none of them qualified to get that tender. So that work needed to be done internally, because if you have to re-advertise again, it might take a longer time. We need to follow the same process of so many weeks to advertise the tender, so many weeks to give people to respond to the tender, and then also waiting period that is there, and if somebody challenges and all these kind of things. So that we have to do ourselves, and then we have to juggle within all those other projects that we are doing. Now, during that time also, the report was not ready, because when we normally do the census, we give highlights of, even if you can compare the previous questionnaire, census questionnaire, like the people who normally look at it in detail, and compared to this, we had a longer section of the labor force module. So now we had maybe a 3-hour session where we were launching this report, where we're going through, and we also had questions and answer. Now, to do this where and not only that, we have a process also of taking reports through a whole process of running tables, writing reports, data quality assurance, all those kind of things. So just to rush because somebody say you must provide this information by when, unfortunately, that's not how we work. We already have criticism of, we did the census in September, or the enumeration in September 2023, we released in March, which is the preliminary report, which is a relatively short period. We have some countries that are comparing with us, and some of them are even higher than us in terms of comparison. They did their census in 2022. They released their data in 2024. And us who released in 2024 also seems like we are not seen to be good enough for that. But what I want to say on that one is that maybe people must also appreciate the whole process of data processing, data cleaning, even if you do it, if you have digital questionnaires and we are collecting your data digitally, there's still that process that is quite long, which will give you now to get to the reports. So we came to that stage where we were not completed with whatever we wanted to do. We needed to finalize everything. Yes, we were even people threatening us to take us to court. We were really happy to go to say if there's anything that we were doing wrong, to be pointed out. But we were just following the processes that we needed to do. And then the other thing is that you cannot expect me also to release such an important report, for example, like on the 20th of December when people are on leave, or even on the 5th of January when people are on leave. So that's why we now had to release it also on the 29th of and things change.
Yeah.
We were supposed to release something also on 22nd of January, disability report, and like because of the other things that I've mentioned, we had to push it forward as well.
Absolutely. I wish we could talk more and more, Alex, because the questions are a lot, but I think you have given us something to chew on for the days, for the next few days to absorb and interpret what you just said. But thank you for your time. We will call you back again if we have more questions.
Yeah, no, thank you. Maybe just, if you can allow me, just something briefly, is that, you see, how the NSA operates is that we have an open door policy. So if you have a challenge with something, it's good that you call me in like this. Yeah. But unfortunately, these things goes on social media where some of us personally, it's not my space. If you address something to me via social media, unfortunately, sorry, we will not be able to get an answer, because not just because I don't want, but it's also a matter of so many platforms out there. I can't be chasing these things, even if you say that you are tagging me or what if you. We have a formal process where you can just write to me and we can actually call you in. It actually happened. Yeah. Some time back, 2018 or so, we had somebody claiming that we are using a wrong deflator for the national accounts. When we ask which one, because we are not using only a single deflator. For various sectors, we're using different deflators. So we called the person in to talk about this. Person didn't come back. Person even go to further to later on say we have corrected the deflator. We're asking again which one and what we didn't do. We just follow whatever we do. Then that's now the issue of come to us, speak to us when you see that we have not done something right. You can go back also to your constituencies or whatever to tell your followers on your social media that this is a mistake that NSE does. Don't just assume. Yeah. We are the expert in this, so you are the users. Speak to us, we will address you. And then finally also, it's a matter of, I hope I got my thoughts right here. What I wanted to say is also that internally, we do have a revision policy, meaning that with our calculations and everything that we do, should we make a mistake, maybe pasted a wrong graph somewhere or so, we go back to our policy, revision policy, and then we issue a errata, and then we update the report. So if you speak to us and you point out to us and say, we have made a mistake here, we are not going to be shy away and say, let's just swipe it under the rug. No, we are going to change or to update the report and issue an updated report.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alex.
Welcome.
That is Alex Shimuafeni. He's the CEO of the Namibia Statistics Agency and also our country's Statistician-General, filling us in about this raging debate about what is the true figure of unemployment in Namibia. Thank you for watching.